So Donald Trump and his people and the Republicans are in full retreat today as people are quitting and running away. And I want to give you the latest. These are your headlines, and it's starting to turn against us. This is coming from inside the White House. It's starting to turn against us. White House reckons with Minnesota fallout. And this just came out just a few minutes ago. Bovino, that's one of the Trump people, he's out. He's leaving Minnesota. Whether or not he'll get fired, whether or not Kristi Noem will get fired, that remains to be seen. But I think a lot of things that Trump is trying to do and their people, they're trying to figure out, okay, how can we spin this to make it look like Trump is awesome? But there's no really good things about this stuff. As you guys know, we all saw the tape of the killing of Alex Preddy. And then you saw the defense that these people were trying to defend it. And it's just, these people are terrible. And the whole administration is collapsing on itself. And so what they'll probably try to do, you can kind of see it coming. Trump will fire people and say, oh, look how awesome of a boss I am. I fired someone. I just fired people. I'm so great. But the thing is, if you were such a great leader or boss or whatever, you wouldn't hire bad people to start and you wouldn't have terrible policies. So right now we're just waiting to see how many of Bovino's people are going with him. But yeah, it looks like they're out of Minnesota. And I also want to say this. The people of Minnesota stood up. Right? They came together as neighbors, as a community, and also protested, and it shows that it works. I mean, it brought national attention to this stuff, and plus we all saw the tapes, and the Trump people look terrible here. There's no other way to put it. And then also they see things that we haven't even necessarily seen. This just came out a few minutes ago. DHS says it has body cam footage related to Preddy shooting in Minneapolis. So, inside they know it's bad, and that's why they're pulling people out, and then they're kind of shuffling people around. You also have this today. ICE shootings are freaking out the GOP. They're afraid to tell Trump. And, it's not just what happened to Alex Preddy. It's like, think about what happened to Renee Good. I mean, this whole thing is just terrible. I don't know how else to put it. And now they're talking about Trump may consider reducing number of federal agents in Minnesota. So this is a full retreat for them. Trump will try to claim victory. He tweeted out this thing that he had a good call with Tim Walz. If you want to read this whole thing, you can. But you never know with Trump tweets. And when I looked at this, though, it didn't even sound like Trump, because Trump usually doesn't write in full sentences, and Trump sounds a bit deranged. Usually, you guys know how it is. But they're trying to claim victory here. Like, oh, see, I'm working with Walz. I'm such a good guy. But if you saw any of Trump's people on these Sunday morning talk shows, they just said this most whacked out stuff.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents there.
So he's trying to paint his people as being the good guys here, which is absolutely nuts. And let me get you to this. So it's starting to turn against us. White House reckons with the Minnesota fallout, and basically these are insiders of the White House. They leak of what's going on. We can all see it, but it's important to hear what they're saying from the inside. So, for example, it says here, he deployed, I'm talking about Trump here, border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis. So they're moving people around, right? A move viewed by some administration officials and Trump allies as recognition that the president needed to change course, right? Homan, Trump said, will report, quote, directly to me. So Trump's going to try to make the case, okay, I'm in charge, right? Whatever. But Trump really is just, watching Fox News and eating his KFC or McDonald's. That's all that Trump does all day. But this is an interesting one from the White House. A White House official, right, granted anonymity to share internal thinking, quote, Homan going is not a vote of confidence for Noem. So I wonder if they're going to get rid of Kristi Noem here, right? Because the question would be like, then would Homan be under Noem or not? But this says right here, not a vote of confidence for Noem. And basically the way Trump thinks about this stuff is he looks at people on TV and he looks at, ratings or what people are saying. It's like, oh, well, I saw Noem on TV. I saw Bovino on TV. They look awful. Let's send new people. That's how Trump thinks. That's he runs administration, basically a TV show, and looks for ratings, looks for people who look good on TV. This is from Karen Levitt. This is what she said. That's the White House spokesperson, right? This incident remains under investigation. And I keep saying we need a third-party investigation, right? So just independent, do the right thing, do third party, independent. And nobody at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt and killed or losing their lives in American streets. We mourn for the parents. So that's coming from the White House, like they're really changing their tune. More. It says a senior Republican Hill staffer, so again, these are all from insiders here, said Republicans won the election in part because of the Americans' desire, well, we'll say the MAGA desire for border security and fear that undocumented immigrants and were committing violent crimes. So basically, from the Republicans, right, from someone on the inside, and you know this, we see it publicly, but they're really saying, like, we win because we just scare people, right? You basically tell a bunch of lies that all these black and brown people commit violent crimes. You show said things daily on Fox News. And if it's a white person or whatever that does a school shooting or whatever, we ignore that. We ignore white collar crime. We ignore any kind of violent crime by white people. And if you look at Elon Musk all day, his Twitter's is filled with just, if someone, of a certain color does something, he'll just tweet it out and amplify that stuff, right? And so then Republicans they're literally telling you, we scare people, right? They put fear and then say, oh, they vote for us because we'll get the bad people, right? But this is then what the Republicans say now. Then now the aide said, quote, it's Americans getting killed by the very people they thought would protect them. The campaign ads write themselves, so they know they're in a bad position. And here's more, quote, they thought it was going to help them, right? And now they're at the point where they're thinking, maybe not so much. Now it's starting to turn against us. And basically it's when people take the streets and just from the regular person at home, because a lot of people in USA or any country, they don't necessarily participate in politics all the time, right? They kind of have a general idea of what's going on. But when you get something like this, where we can clearly see that the Trump people are in the wrong, like look, it's any sane person that clearly see the killing of Alex Preddy. And I know you can talk about other things, but I'm just talking about the Alex Preddy thing. It's like, it's just so blatantly sick who these people are, right? You don't shoot someone multiple times when they're on the ground. And it's horrible. And so now you have Republican quitting the governor race. It says Republican drops bid for governor, citing GOP's, quote, retribution on Minnesota. So this is Chris Mandel. And let me read some of the stuff that he said recently. This just came out just a few minutes ago also. Like, a lot of the stuff is coming out because the Republicans are they're just terrible. There's no way to put it. And the Republicans inside even know they're terrible. That's why they're quitting. Chris Mandel, a Minneapolis attorney who was running as a Republican for Minnesota governor, said Monday that he was ending his campaign, so he's quitting, because of a national GOP's, quote, retribution on his state, describing ICE operations there as an unmitigated disaster. Quote, I cannot support the National Republican's stated retribution on its citizens of our state, nor can I count myself a member of a party that would do so. So this is, again, his guy's running for governor as a Republican. He's out. He says more. United States citizens, particularly those of color, live in fear. United States citizens are carrying papers to prove their citizenship. That's wrong. Medell noted that he had spoken with Hispanic and Asian members of local law enforcement whom immigration officers had stopped. I mean, this is, usually don't hear Republicans talk like this, but this has gotten to the point where they're trying to distance themselves as much as they can. And again, this guy is canceling his run for governor. Here's more. He says he also condemned as unconstitutional the reported authorization for ICE agents to raid homes using only a civil warrant signed by a federal immigration officer. And we talked about that before. Basically, they don't have the proper paperwork to run your home. And then they try to play these word games of like, oh, well, we had someone at ICE sign it, not a judge, but someone at ICE. Therefore, we can just come to your house without a proper warrant, right? Here's more, quote, weaponizing criminal investigations against political opponents is unconstitutional regardless of who is in the power. At the end of the day, I have to look at my daughters in the eye and tell them, quote, I believe I did what was right, and I am doing that today. Wow. So that's a Republican quitting. And then I'll tell you, I mean, it's a lot of these people, there's different types of Republicans, there's Democrats, but there's different types of, you can say, politician. Some lie in public for political gain, meaning that they know Trump's a moron. Like anyone has any intelligence or any sanity, you can all see Trump's a moron, right? You can all see it's corrupt. Some people will lie and say, oh, wow, he's the best leader ever, because they know that the voters are dumb. And I know I'm being mean today, but it's just a reality. A lot of people in the MAGA movement, they're just dumb and racist. It's just the easiest way to understand it. And Trump appeals to that kind of base. even though this is completely unsustainable and it's a terrible policy and it's a terrible culture to promote. And for some politicians, like, well, I guess if the culture of the people, therefore I need to promote that stuff too. And then when they realize that it just all goes to crap when you start, doing the stuff that Trump is doing, then it's like, oh, well, I got to change my tune now. Suddenly I found my conscience. So I found Jesus. That's essentially Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of stuff. Then it's fine if you're going to come out and tell the truth now, but you should have told the truth all along. And that's why I always tell you guys multiple times, just tell the truth on stuff, right? And you don't have to be worrying about waffling on these things. And it's obviously anyone who looks at this stuff, but yeah, he's quitting now and he is doing the right thing now. Kudos to this guy for getting out now. And you can see other people, but again, some of these people are really slimy. Even Greg Abbott, though, is turning against Trump. You can see that they should recalibrate. Ted Cruz on his podcast is saying we're losing credibility. Ted Cruz is one of the more slimy ones. He'll try to say, wow, we got to calm down. We got to have the Republicans calm down. We got to have the Democrats calm down. But the point being, they all know it's bad optics, right? So some people are sincere in doing the right thing. Other people, they're just playing, looking at the poll numbers and saying, oh, we're losing. I need to get on the right side and try to play it that way. And there's some, I'll just be frank with you guys, there's some dumb voters out there who fall for the stuff. Say what he says. He says, people need to ratchet down the rhetoric. That's also a quote from Cruz. Everyone who has anything resembling a conscience is horrified by what's happening in Minneapolis. What I want to call on everyone to do is ratchet things down, ratchet the rhetoric down, ratchet the anger down. But, Cruz is a slimy dude. I will say this, though. Not everyone is Ted Cruz. This was pretty interesting. The National Guard were out.
Coffee, donuts, hot chocolate.
What are you guys giving out?
Coffee, donuts, hot chocolate.
And you're with the Minnesota National Guard?
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are.
Why was this important for you guys to do today?
It's a demonstration of safety and security. We're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you.
They were wearing yellow, we can call it jackets, I guess you could say, to say that, we're not ICE, we're not the Trump people, we're just, local National Guard people trying to make sure you can keep the peace, which is the right thing to do. And also just hanging out with literally your neighbors, donuts, coffee, and hot chocolate. And that's what you want to see. And it's, I hope we see more of this kind of stuff. I'll also say this, though, is that, yes, even though the Trump people are in full retreat, it's not over yet. There is a possibility of a government shutdown, depending on what the Trump people do. That's what Democrats are threatening, and we'll see. And this just shows how dysfunctional it is under Trump. It's just, the type of stuff that he pulls. And I also want to show you this, giving an update of what's going on here in Korea. Basically, we had a former president, President Yoon, did, I should say, what the Trump people are doing now. And there's hell to pay. This is here in Korea, former South Korean prime minister jailed for 23 years for role in the martial law insurrection. So this was a surprise that he got this stiff. I'm not saying it's not deserved. I'm just saying it's like, wow, 23 years. Yoon then faces multiple trials. The first one came out. He got 5 years. It could be as stiff as capital punishment, actually, or even then if they don't go that way, or it could be life in prison or life in prison with labor. So it's two different ways that they could do this. So I just want to say that there are people out there that do understand democracy and understand justice. It's happening here. I see it live, and you do see it in USA to some extent. You just want to see more of it, of course. And if you haven't seen this movie, I know I always recommend it. Just please check it out, because it literally mirrors everything that's happening in USA right now. It's called 1987, When the Day Comes, because Korea lived through this scenario before in the past, fought for decades for democracy. And that's why, say here in Korea, you see like in 2026, very, very stiff penalties for people who basically pull the Trump stuff. That's basically what it is. And so hopefully Americans will wake up and realize like it's unsustainable to run this sort of Trump kind of stuff. And in Korea, you get 23 years and possible life, depending on what happens with you. And he's got multiple charges against him. So that's my thoughts on this. Please stay safe out there, and just understand you're not alone. And even the White House knows that they're losing. It says it's starting to turn against us. And I'll catch you all in the next video.